Mongolia lies at the eastern extremity of the Central Asian steppe, far away from any sea. It's composed of steppes, forests, remote mountain ranges, and arid plains. If you like meeting people, traveling in Mongolia may not be for you. Here you can travel for days without meeting a living soul. On the other hand, you will see wild horses, yaks, remote villages and camps of jares stretching over immense expanses of this high-altitude plateau. Jare is the Russian word for what is commonly called a yurt. But after the Russian occupation and repression, the Mongols have banned from their language everything that reminds them of that sad period. Naadam, the Mongolian national holiday, takes place every year from the 11th to the 13th of July. During this period, all Mongols put on their Sunday best and take part in this symbolic day that has been celebrated for centuries. The best athletes in Mongolia compete in the three traditional Mongol sports: horse racing over the steppe, wrestling, and archery. Traditionally, this festival was held so that the different tribes could compete against each other. In the capital, the events attract national stars, making the Naadam a huge affair. Some wrestlers start training their bodies months in advance of the competition. In the provinces, the Naadam sees the top local or regional athletes competing. At Kakhorin, the former 13th century capital of Genghis Khan's Mongol Empire, preparations for Naadam have begun, and the tents are being erected to welcome important guests. It's said that Mongols are born in the saddle and that they learn to ride before they can walk. This is doubtless why horse racing is considered the national sport of Mongolia and why it arouses such popular enthusiasm. For Naadam, the horses are selected and prepared months in advance. Despite their small size, Mongolian horses are fast and very hardy. Races are organized according to the age of the horses, and they take place on the steppe over distances that vary from 15 to 35 kilometers, depending on the category. Some of the riders are barely as tall as their mounts, the youngest are 5 years old, the oldest 12. The Mongols ensure that this mixed competition is not too dangerous for the young riders, many of whom can ride just as well as their parents. It was partly due to such horses that Genghis Khan conquered half of Asia. A national festival, the Naadam brings together whole families during this festive sporting event. Wrestling is the main event. More than just a simple game, it's an art, a veritable institution, just as sumo is in Japan. Oddly enough, there are no weight, age or rank categories. All participants are mixed together and take part in the tournament equally. A child, for example, might end up in competition with an adult. Wrestling has been practiced since the beginning of time. The rules are simple. The participant who brings his opponent to the ground first wins and will go on to the next round. Nine rounds are held over the 3 days of competition. Wrestlers who win 5 rounds in a row are awarded the title of Falcon. A wrestler who wins 6 rounds becomes an elephant. The winner of the whole competition is changed into a lion. If a lion wins again the following year, he becomes a giant. A giant who wins a 3rd time becomes a national giant. And if the national giant is strong enough to win 4 times in a row, he is declared invincible, naturally. Mongolia has a continental climate with very distinct seasons. The summers are very hot, the winters are very cold. But that's not the biggest climatic problem. You have to be very careful of sudden changes in the weather, whatever the season. Within an hour, a very sunny day may turn into a huge sandstorm. These violent winds that blow all year long, especially in springtime, are major characteristics of the Mongolian climate. Especially the Karaburan, or the Black Blizzard, a wind from the Gobi Desert that can bring about near darkness. By the end of the race, the young riders will have ridden several dozen kilometers. As soon as the first jockey crosses the finishing line, mounted referees gallop after the riders to give them wooden tablets that indicate their order of arrival. The winner receives the title of Best Rider, his father that of Best Breeder, and the horse itself is proclaimed Horse of the Year. The first 5 runners-up are decorated with a medal. The last horse of the race is brought before the spectators, who console it and encourage it by chanting its name to do better at the next Naadam. Contrary to what one might imagine, it's quite rare for a rider to fall in the competition. These young riders are the pride of their families. The larger the town, the larger the Naadam. As with all national festivals throughout the world, the Naadam parade is colorful and is made up of all levels of Mongol society, both civil and military. Patriotic songs are sung and children dance to choreographies specially prepared for the event. It must be understood that apart from the purely sporting side of the event, in country villages, the Naadam is also an opportunity for important social gatherings. It always arouses great enthusiasm with Mongols. Polo, a recent sport in Mongolia, is not included in all Naadam competitions. Archery is one of the three most important events of the Naadam. It's a tradition going back to Genghis Khan, who introduced it to help him select the most skillful archers. Participants use wooden bows with strings made from animal tendons. The arrows are made from branches and bird feathers. The men stand 75 meters away from the target and shoot 40 arrows in all. Judges stand to either side of the target. They intone a song called the ukai in crescendo so as to encourage the archer. They raise their hands skyward to announce the result of the shots. The archery event has been open to women for the last few decades. Women stand only 60 meters from the target and shoot 20 arrows. Other events take place during Naadam, like here, a knucklebones competition. Shortly before the beginning of the festival, hundreds, even thousands of people converge from across the steppe towards the places where the events are to be held. For some, particularly the nomads, the festivities provide an opportunity to meet friends and relatives that they've not seen since last year. Barrières are erected everywhere around the villages. And not far from the horse race finishing line, a stage is set up where groups perform traditional Mongolian or more modern music. Any and all means of transport are used in order not to miss this event. Appearing almost out of nowhere in the middle of the steppe, there are games areas for children to practice sport or just romp around. Like these children who are playing basketball, another sport that has become popular in Mongolia. The day of competitions is coming to an end, and quite a day it was. Yet even though it was extremely tiring, there are still a few trying out their bows. The Erdene-Zu monastery, or Jewel Temple, was built in 1585 and is undoubtedly the oldest Buddhist monastery in Mongolia. A wall of stupas guards the entrance to this monastery. Although it suffered greatly under Stalin, it miraculously still stands today. Only a few temples have survived, and the monks were not allowed back to work until after the end of communism. There are 108 typically Tibetan chortens, 108 being a sacred Buddhist number. The surrounding walls were built from the ruins of the ancient Mongol capital, whereas the main temple has been beautifully restored and now houses a rich collection of sacred objects. Even within the monastery, we find, of course, the ever-present jairs. All Buddhist monasteries have prayer wheels. They usually consist of a cylinder with written mantras inside. They're generally aligned, but they don't always have the same shape or the same color. They do, however, have the same function. The cylinders are spun clockwise. Mongols believe that spinning the wheel is equivalent to reading the mantra. This allows the prayer to fly away. Ulaanbaatar is the capital of Mongolia. It's the political, economic, industrial, scientific and cultural center. Administratively, it has the status, unique in Mongolia, of a federal municipality, comparable to that of a province. The city stretches from east to west in the bottom of the Tul River Valley. Today, the Mongolian capital numbers about 1.3 million inhabitants, or about 45% of the total population of Mongolia. Ulaanbaatar is a modern city, mixing Soviet architecture with new constructions. During Naadam, everything is closed. It's the time for Mongols to meet and celebrate for 3 days. Cars proudly sport the colors of the Mongolian flag, and everyone dresses up for the festivities. The city center is easily visited on foot. Ulaanbaatar is centered around Genghis Khan Square, formerly Ulaanbaatar Square. A statue of the revolutionary hero Ulaanbaatar was erected here, and since 2006, a giant statue of Genghis Khan has dominated the square. The Ulaanbaatar Naadam, in contrast to Kakorin, takes place in a stadium. The archery competition is held in an annex of the stadium. It is, moreover, free for all spectators. Apart from individual archery events, there are also archery teams composed of 10 archers. Each archer is given 4 arrows. Each team has to score 33 soors. A soor is a target in the form of leather cylinders. Men shoot their arrows from a distance of 75 meters away from the target, women from 65 meters. Right up to the end of the event, when the medals are awarded, the archers are usually dressed in a traditional costume called a del. As in all Mongolian Buddhist temples, once again, prayer wheels are present. Mongolian railway network consists almost solely of the Trans-Mongolian line that links Moscow to Peking, 7,621 kilometers apart. The journey from Moscow to Ulaanbaatar takes 5 days. From Peking, it takes about 30 hours. So access is easy to Ulaanbaatar by train from either Russia or China. Domestic daytime trains have 2 classes. Night trains have 3 classes: hard seat, soft seat, and semi-luxury. The Ulaanbaatar Naadam is the biggest in Mongolia. It's also the most famous and the best organized. For the inhabitants of Ulaanbaatar, it's a major event. They would not miss it for anything in the world. Various activities take place around the stadium where the competitions are held. It's a bit like a fairground. You can eat traditional dishes, listen to popular songs, or have your picture taken in traditional costume. Women are allowed to participate in the archery and horse racing events. They are not, however, allowed to participate in the wrestling competition. This has not always been the case. In the past, women fought and sometimes beat men in wrestling matches. In order to prevent such embarrassment, women were barred from participating in wrestling. A new regulation was created. The traditional bolero jacket was reversed, so that the little jacket would henceforth cover the back and not the chest, thus making this costume unsuitable for the fair sex to wear. Several hundred wrestlers take part in the Ulaanbaatar Naadam. There are so many, in fact, that they might wait several hours before fighting. Nearly 20 years after the implosion of the Soviet Union and of its planified economic system, Mongolia is slowly raising its head again and finding its place, as best it can, in the capitalist world. But the country still cruelly suffers from the lack of infrastructures, and its budget is essentially supported by foreign subsidies. Yes, poverty is widespread, and enormous social progress needs to be made. But the newfound freedom for Mongols and their impressive faculties to adapt is helping this essentially rural country to develop its wealth and its resources. Naadam is one of its attributes that Mongolia is constantly developing. It's talked about both within Mongolia and abroad. But Naadam is much more than a simple sports competition. It represents an important part of Mongolian culture. The festival thus allows traditions to be preserved by all generations of Mongols.